Hi folks, welcome back to Tea and Tier Lists. This time we are going to walk ourselves through Pokemon starters by generation, and I've got here the TNF resident Pokemon expert. Daz is joining me. Daz, how are you?
I am fantastic, Ross. I am happy to be here. I can't wait to get into this. I've got so many opinions. I'm
This is
so excited.
absolutely your wheelhouse. So,
This is my bag.
because
Yes.
it's your wheelhouse, I'm going to choose a gen at random, and you're going to start our shared tier list that we're going to have in front of us. And between us two and Ed or Craig, who's gave me his picks, I'm going to choose a couple of them at random. We will have a shared tier list by the end. So I'm going to start you off with Gen 3. These guys
Gen
over
3.
here. You're going to have
Yeah, we're
Torchic.
looking at
Not,
mm, we're
that's not
looking at
Gen 3, that's
Torchic,
Gen 2. Yeah, these guys here.
Trico, and Mudkip.
Yeah, these three. Where do they sit between S, A, B, C, and D in your
Like
eyes?
every group of starter Pokemon, everyone has a weak link. I think that's done on purpose. There's a common theme I think people might pick up throughout this video as to where the majority of the weak links lie, in my opinion. Trico, I don't see the point in Trico, I will be honest. Mudkip is so clear in
Yeah.
this trio. Um, Torchic isn't great. Combuskin isn't particularly good. However, Blaziken is an
Ooh,
absolute unit.
yeah,
So,
top tier.
for me, I think because of Mudkip and Torchic's final evolution, I'm gonna have to put. I would put it personally in A.
An A.
I think it is up there. In terms of a generation, yeah.
That's kind of interesting. For me, it probably sits like lower A, upper B. Like there are
Yeah,
probably going to be another set that I think probably comfortably sit in A, but this probably shunts one down. Interestingly,
I
Ed
don't
or Craig
disagree. Yeah, yeah.
had this at B, but at the top of B tier. So he's
Ah,
maybe in the same sort of thinking as us, which is
yeah, that's good.
interesting. I will then. What will I choose? I'm going to choose Gen 8, which is Grookey, Sobble, and Scorbunny. These three guys here. So that's Sword and Shield, if memory serves me right. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know about you. The grass one never did it for me. I'm normally a water
Okay.
guy. Water guy
Yeah.
didn't really do it for me. Scorbunny was kind of alright. Was kind of okay. I think it's comfortably mid and comfortably C because of the fact that 2 out of the 3, even their sort of evolutions, they don't do it for me.
Yeah, I think they're probably it's a toss up between them and another, which I'll get to, but I think they're one of the worst two generations in terms of starters. Grookey offers nothing. Sobble isn't particularly great. Um, I mean, Inteleon is okay. Scorbunny Rabbit, that evolution line is okay, but I don't particularly like having to play these games for the first hour or so because I have to have one of these Pokemon in the party.
Yeah.
For me, it's either lower C or D. I think if I've got a D category, I think, in my opinion,
He
they're in
just
it.
slots one
But
down.
I'm happy to meet at lower C.
Mm.
I'm happy to meet at lower C, definitely.
Craig was of the same opinion. He had them in his tier list. It was the only one that made it into D. So
Right.
he's got the same thinking as you, which is kind of interesting. And then I'm actually going to just choose one. I'm going to choose one from Craig's tier list, and we're going to talk about
Oh,
what he's put it as. So he has, I believe, Gen 5. So that is
okay.
Snivy, Oshawott, and Tepig. Now, I think
Yeah,
Tepig's pretty cool,
I'm
and I think
intrigued by
Oshawott's
it.
pretty cool. He had that actually sitting in A, which
Interesting,
I don't
interesting.
dislike that, but I also don't like it. And I don't know why. I think it's
Yeah.
because Snivy is like such a letdown compared to the other two. Whereas in my eyes, the other two are pretty good. They feel quite nice and they look nice. They've got good models. Don't know what you think.
I think Snivy as a starter isn't great. However, Stervine and Serperia are actually pretty handy in the
Mhm,
series. I'm the opposite with Oshawott. I think Oshawott's is the best version
mhm,
of that evolution line. And I think Tepig Embor, I actually really like that evolution
mhm.
line. I think that I don't dislike. I'm like you. I don't dislike Craig putting it in A, but I'm also I don't feel like it's on the same level. Just don't personally feel it's the same level as Mudkip
Yeah.
and Polchik. And there's another group I would personally put in A that we'll come to, but for me, I don't feel like they're on that level. So for me, it would probably be top B,
Mhm.
in front of. It probably comes in front of another evolution line, which we'll come to. For me,
Yeah.
yeah, B would probably be where I would land.
I think that's probably fair. I'll probably go probably sitting comfortably in there myself. Purely because I think that Tepig is actual Tepig's the coolest one out of his line in my eyes, which is kind of weird. You don't often see that with the starter, like sort of baby evolution or whatever you want to call it, as the
Yeah.
coolest of the three. But yeah, interesting all the same. So I'm then going to give you a random one where I am going to
Right.
give you Gen 7 Rowlet,
Um,
Poplio, and Litten. Thoughts and
uh,
feelings?
absolute ass across the board, in my opinion. As starters, I think all three are pretty poor. Um, Litton probably the best of the three.
Best of a bad
Um,
bunch.
it's really is a bad bunch. I think for final evolutions, I probably would go that Rowlet's probably get the best final evolution.
Mm,
Um, I'm not particularly enamoured by it. I don't think I've ever actually ran it in a party. It's another one of those generation games where I hold the starter until I can get rid of the starter. Which kind of goes against the grain of what I like. I like to take my starter all the way to the Pokemon League and then
yeah.
obviously the Elite Four.
At least
I
get it
like to
in there
take
the
them all
first
the
time.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to take them all the way, but the two generations for me that sit in the D tier list are two that you've given to me. So, yeah, for me they're in D. I don't honestly know what Poplio is even doing. I don't understand what it is there for.
I find that interesting because I am kind of the same opinion as you in that I don't think they're particularly great. I'm looking over at what Craig is waiting for here. And what has he chosen?
I've got a feeling Craig is going to have them pretty high.
He has that at A. So comment down below what your thoughts are
that is
about
an
Craig's pick there, mate.
that is an absolutely wild shout. We may have to consider the staffing on TNF moving forward. That is a pretty wild shout.
Oh man, I read his and most of it was fine, and that picked out. I was like, yeah, I need to speak about that.
What?
Daz is going to have
Yeah.
opinions.
Yes, I do have opinions. I absolutely do. That is crazy stuff.
So I am then. I'll choose one. I will go for these three guys here: Totwig, Piplup, and Chimchar. Now, gut feeling. Full disclosure, I did zero prep. This is all going off of the heart. I actually think these guys are ever so slightly underrated.
Hmm.
So in my head, probably they probably sit there, and I think it's
Oh.
mostly because I think all three of the lines are pretty solid all the way through, and Piplup going all the way to the is it Empoleon? Is that what he
Hmm.
comes at? That a
Hmm.
very solid Pokemon. Don't know about you, but I think that's one of the stronger ones of the lines that you get. I don't think they quite beat out here. They are not S tier. I think we're probably going to be quite close to what we think's S tier, but yeah,
Yeah.
comfortably solid.
Um, so to be honest, there's two evolution lines in this that I believe are middle of the road, just solid.
Mm,
And this is one of them. I think that you're right. Infernape, Empoleon, they're just a great evolution
mm,
line. I don't think two of the me personally, I don't think Empoleon and Turtwig's Evolution are particularly great. I think Infernape is incredibly overpowered,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yes.
which for me kind of takes away from the evolution line a little bit.
Okay.
Um, I feel like it makes the game a bit too easy, if I'm honest, if you take
Mm-hmm.
Chimchar.
I would
For
agree
me,
with
the
that.
middle of the road, I don't mind A. Probably anywhere
Yes.
between A and B
You'd
for
probably
me with
have them
these
kind
guys.
of here or here. Is probably where you would sit.
Yeah, I just think they're a really solid middle of the road. If they were to make a Pokemon game capturing all of the generations,
Mm-hmm.
hint hint, if they were to give us any one of these three as one of the three starter Pokemon, I don't think I would be disappointed. But
Mm-hmm.
if it was fire, I wouldn't take Chimchar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Which I mean, I even just thinking about a game that's got 1025 or whatever the hell number it is these days, Pokemon in it, has me
I would
salivating.
give
That would
you,
be
I would give them a blank check and they can write a number on it.
yeah, £300-400. Fine, I never need another game again.
Give it
Um,
to me.
exactly. So I'm gonna be nice, and I'm gonna give you one that's actually I think solid. The OGs, Gen One.
The OGs.
Where do they sit? It's hard to look past the nostalgia. I agree, but I mean,
Yes.
Pokemon in
When
itself,
I
our age
made,
is so.
yeah, when I made my tier list, Russ, I'll be honest, the nostalgia was strong as I was building this. Like, I opened the list and instantly dragged them into S because that's just my childhood. I took a step back, right? This may upset some people. I absolutely hate Bulbasaur, right?
Ooh,
I think
okay.
he's a little cabbage. I don't understand really what he brings to the table in terms of the game, right? It's kind of similar to what I mentioned about Chimchar. That
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I love most about the original games is the grind. There's no XP share that goes across your party that
Yes.
you get.
Mm-hmm.
You get at the beginning. There's none of that nonsense. You have to grind your Pokemon up. What I've always found with the original game series is that Bulbasaur is a bit of a cheat code
Yeah.
for the first two gyms, gets you through Mount Moon. It is a really helpful Pokemon. I don't particularly like it, and the reason for that being I don't like its moveset.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the original games, I think its moveset's quite limited.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with the other two, you get Ember and Water Gun. Oh, sorry, Ember and Bubble pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Um, I always preferred the route to go down was always to get myself a Nidoran to take on Brock,
Mm-hmm.
try and catch myself a Pikachu in Viridian Forest to take on Misty. I like the challenge.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of an evolution line, the three are solid across the board. Blastoise is the I was going to make a very bold statement, but I'm going back it. Blastoise is the goat, right? Blastoise is the
Big
greatest
man
final
Blastoise.
evolution
Not
of all the
Charizard.
Pokemon.
Not
Yeah,
Charizard.
I am not not that I'm not a Charizard guy. I just think Blastoise is infinitely cooler,
Clear.
infinitely better, and as a Pokemon is an absolute powerhouse. I've I've decided for my tier list that I was only going to have one in S.
Mm-hmm.
If the group want to put it in S, I am not against it in
Mm-hmm.
any way, shape, or form. For me, they are top of A class.
Sit
They
here.
sit right at the very top of A class. Um, if they were to be an S, I'm fine with that. But I do think there's a
Mm-hmm.
generation that beats it. Yeah,
I think that's fair. I mean, it's your pick, so we will. I'm not going to go no as much as I would put them in S. I'm
you'll
not going
like
to say
some
no, no,
people
no.
in
We're going to move it.
comments.
I would say that then therefore means that A has too many in. So we did say about these guys are kind of flirting between A and B. I think they kind of
Yeah,
naturally just come down. You can't have
I'm
they're
happy to
not on the same
relegate them.
level as the
Yeah,
OGs. We all know that.
I definitely agree with that.
Which leaves us only a few gens left. Now this is the interesting
Mm.
ones where I have written these down in front of me. I have absolutely no idea who they are, which is probably not the greatest.
Which gen are we talking about?
This must be Gen 6. This must be Chespin, Froakie, and Fennekin.
It is, yes,
Um,
it is indeed.
I am going to throw that one to Craig because I know nothing. And based on what we've been discussing in here, I think it seems probably fair these guys sit somewhere here based on what Craig has put. I can't really be fair on them. It is a game. Gen
Mhm.
6 is actually a gen I've never ever played before. I know that's a bit mad.
Yeah,
There's a time skip for me where I just stopped and then started when the Switch games came out.
yeah.
Don't know about you. I know nothing, so I can't really be too harsh. But I can't also put them any higher than that because that's just it's not fair.
Again, you'll probably see the theme is that the grass starter is the weakest. Again, Chessman's not particularly great. It's not poor in the same sense that, maybe Grookey
Mm-hmm.
is a really poor starter for its generation. Um, Fennekin's good. Fennekin has a good evolution line. It's nothing special.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it it gets you to a point in the game, but I don't think it's a Pokemon you could finish the game with.
Mm-hmm.
Froakie does a lot of heavy lifting in terms of the evolution line into Frogadier and then Greninja.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Greninja, as I'm sure you know, even if you've not played the series, is widely adored.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um, I would say that it does a lot of the heavy lifting, and I would probably agree. I think as a trio, they probably do rank lower B into the beginning of C. They're not bad,
Mid.
like in my opinion, Rowlet, etc. But they're essentially a mid trio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
I think that's fair. I think based on, I think that's probably the most of all of them. That's probably the fairest one that probably sits in the
Yeah,
most fairest place.
yeah.
So because you are the poke expert, I'm going to leave you
Well,
to
we're on to the good
last,
stuff now.
and I'm going to leave the one that's obvious to last, and I will fall on my sword and take these three guys here and take Gen 9, which is Sprigatito, Quaxley, and Fuecoco. Now, I think they get a ever so slightly undeserved, not hate, disapproval. Craig has them at the bottom of C, for example. I think they all three the models look great. I think Fuecoco when it evolves to the end looks great. That perm in Quaxley is just funny. I
Yeah,
can't really say anything bad about the three of them. So to me, they probably sit in this kind of region here, where they sit lower B, upper C.
yeah.
I would probably put them there as a sort of fair spot where, again, they're comfortably mid. Don't have much love for the grass. There really is a common theme when we go through this entire thing.
No, there is. There absolutely is.
What's your thoughts on that?
This is where it's funny you've actually mentioned the grass Pokemon. This is where I lean towards the grass Pokemon.
Okay,
Sprigatito is my favourite in this trio.
interesting.
Mostly because I really like its final evolution. I really, really like Meowscarada.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very useful. It's a very, very agile Pokemon. Fuecoco is just adorable. Just
Yeah, I mean, look at the
everybody
face,
loves
man.
Fuecoco. I know you could not. He's like new gen Psyduck. He's just that guy.
Yeah.
Quaxley is a vibe, if I'm honest. Loves. I don't know if you've seen any of the clips of the TV shows and stuff. He's always dancing or something. It's just great fun.
I was not aware of that, but that does make me want to
Yeah,
make my way through that and find out.
honestly, I'll get you some clips. I'll get you some clips. He's just a total vibe. In terms of like what you would actually use Pokemon for in terms of battling, they're not a particularly great trio.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would agree, probably somewhere in the middle. I would have them in B because
Mm-hmm.
of Sprigatito, just in my personal
Just
opinion.
lifts it up a
If
little
they
bit.
were B, yeah, if they were B or C, I think that's fair. They're just another. It's the second one out of these that I said was a solid evolution line.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to Turtwig Chimchar and Piplup.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a solid evolution line, but I don't think they're anything special.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fair. I think that's a pretty fair comment based on the other what 7 gens that we've done so
Yeah,
far. So last but certainly not least is Gen 2,
yes, my
Chikorita,
boys,
Cyndaquil, and Totodile.
my
I
boys.
know where I would put them. I know where Craig has put them. But where are you putting them?
See that big red square up the
This
top?
this one right here.
Yes. The reason being, right? Again, there's a common theme. Chikorita isn't great, right? Chikorita is not a particularly great starter Pokemon. Um, Meganium is a very very good grass Pokemon in terms of final evolution. I actually really like it.
Bayleaf's pretty decent as well. You know, it's not bad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gen 2 is my favourite game,
Mm-hmm.
right? Gold was always my favourite game for a number of reasons, but it was the one game where I felt like I could run any starter in any playthrough and I would carry them with me to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Cyndaquil, uh, everything about Cyndaquil is great. Typhlosion thankfully beat the allegations and can be celebrated. Typhlosion is a monster. Um,
He
I would
really
have
is.
I'd Typhlosion before I would have a Charizard personally.
I
And
like that.
Totodile,
Oh, Totodile was him.
Totodile. I'm hoping for Saunders here. Totodile is a goat.
Yeah.
For Alligator is just below Blastoise in my opinion in terms of usability. For me, I think they're the most well-rounded in terms of their evolution lines. The three final evolutions are absolutely excellent. Um, and I think it would be hard pushed. I think if I was to let nostalgia win, it would be the OG trio. But if I'm picking what I feel are most playable, most reusable, um, most the three sprites I think are
Mm.
absolutely like excellent. The models they use, Cyndaquil is so cool. Totodile was like so unique when they brought it out in Gen 2. It just its evolution line, the mix between like ground and water. There was just so many things to love about it.
Yeah.
And for me, it does hit the originals. Oh, I can't believe I've actually said those words out loud.
That's what your heart's
But yeah,
telling you.
they're S tier for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're S tier for me.
No, honestly, like as much as I'd spoke about in the previous tier video about like our sort of top five games, and I put Red as one. Um, it's actually possible that I maybe have completed Gen 2 more because I had both Silver and Crystal.
Yeah,
And I think I've lost count on the amount of Totodile runs that I've done in that game just because for Alligator was just so class. Like, I have done runs where I've done one of each, definitely. But
yeah,
yeah, it's one of those games that always does kind of hold a special place in your heart. Sprites are great. The game just took that extra jump between one and
yes,
two. Like, that jump is only really surpassed by. Ooh, probably two to three is probably where like you get that was the last big one in my eyes before probably the last Switch games really is probably the last time where you felt that.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
But
Kind of middle of the road generations are much of a muchness in terms of kind of Gen 4 till about Gen 6, 7. They're a bit much of a muchness in terms of they were churning games out that were playable, but they weren't particularly great. Scarlet and Violet changed the game for me, I think, in terms of um, what they actually brought to the table.
mm,
I actually thought the way they remade some of the original generations were excellent. Like Omega Ruby is just a phenomenal game. They did
yeah,
such a great job on that,
really
bringing
nice.
back a classic. It's kind of similar to what they did with the OGs with Fire Red and Leaf Green, just to give those the updated graphics, etc. It just the game is so clean.
Really nice.
Omega Ruby was stacked up.
Mm.
Um,
Gen 4 remake's
I
nice as
do
well,
feel
so they've
though,
clearly got, good intentions here.
yeah, and I hope it stays that way. The fear I have for the games because the last few releases I don't particularly like. Arceus isn't really my thing. I didn't really like the Let's Go Eevee or Let's Go Pikachu's. They're just not my type of game. As I say, I like the grind. I like in the newer generations when I play them, I don't use the XP share. I don't
Mm-hmm.
give it to a Pokemon. I'd grind my Pokemon old school. So I don't know. I feel like I'm probably going to get stuck in the past when it comes to the games as they continue to move forward. Um, but in terms of keeping, I will play them all at
Oh
least
yeah.
once. But I just don't. I don't have the same pull. Probably Sun and Moon is the game that done it to me. It's just what is this
A
utter
bridge too
nonsense that I
far.
am playing right now? Yeah, I mean you're on Hawaiian Islands or something like that. It's just so out of what I'm used to. I'm not a fan, but in terms of starters, it's this was actually harder than I thought it would be to
Mm.
make this tier list because I thought, yeah, there's two or three great teams and the rest can just fit wherever they like. But when I actually sat and thought about each of them as individuals, there was only really three I was dead set on: S tier and the bottom two.
Yeah. No, it's been a really interesting exercise. Comment down below, guys, what you think of our three-way shared tier list. I really enjoyed that conversation. I think we could probably touch on your thoughts about the Pokemon franchise as a whole. Honestly, that could probably be its own separate 20 or 30-minute video. Keep your eyes out for
Yeah.
something like that in the future, closer
Yes.
to the next Legends release, which I am cautiously optimistic if they can get it to run on a Switch 2 and not make it churn like Scarlet and Violet did in the actual original Switch. We may have
Yeah.
something. We may have something on our hands here. But that's all from us at TNF today. I'd like to thank Daz once again for spending his time with me, winding through that list,
Always a pleasure.
and see you all for the next one. Cheers.